Welcome back to Yalla Salesforce, and thank you very much for making the time. We will continue our journey with Yalla Salesforce Trail Mix. Over the last couple of sessions, we started a new chapter going through the Salesforce administrator track, and we kicked it off with business process automation, understanding more about flow after we finished everything related to Salesforce Certified Associate. So over the last session, we started to understand more about the flow builder basics and what the flow means and what are the different elements and components of the flow, what are the different types of the flows. We as well got familiar a little bit with create records in Salesforce, update records in Salesforce. So now we're going to take it to the next level, focusing only on the data side and the action side to understand more about those ones. So we're going to start it today with hands-on, again, to visualize things and making sure that everyone is following. And then we will go back to the module, making sure we are not missing anything behind. So this is our playground. In order to start the flow journey, we go in here to the setup. And from the setup, we go in here in the quick find, searching for the flows. We're going to start a new flow. And then we're going to start from scratch. So let's see, again, high level of those different types. So we talked last time, screen flow, which is a guided path, next, every screen either showing for the user certain information or capturing information. And then it has the capability to hit the database and the storing records, retrieving records, and all of these great stuff. But it has a unique feature, which is allowing you to interact with the screens. Record trigger flow, which will be our main focus for today, is different. There is no user interaction. It's mainly record triggered flow. What that means, we mentioned in the Salesforce flows, we need to have an action, and then we need to do a reaction. So the action in here, that something happened with a record. Either a record got created, a record got updated, a record got deleted. And then once that happens, we are starting a reaction to do something, create an action, send an email, post a chatter post, create another related record, and so on. Platform event, we talked briefly about the platform event trigger flow, but we said that in asynchronous world, if I need to publish and someone else will be subscribing, so if I have a platform event and I published an event saying something happened, a record got created, I need to react it asynchronously, not in real time, but after a couple, whenever I listen to that event. It can be in a day, it can be in a 2, and so on. Auto launch flow and schedule trigger flow, this is based on a schedule, and this is based on an apex calling it, or a flow calling it, or a button calling it. So this is the auto launch flow. We mentioned as well that the record trigger orchestration, we will have a dedicated session for the orchestration. But let's jump to the record trigger flow. Any questions so far?
All good, all good.
Perfect. So let's go for the record trigger flow. As we mentioned, it's a little bit different than the screen flow. The screen flow, if you remember from last time, the start has nothing. There is no properties for it, because this is just at the beginning. Once you launch this, you can launch it through a button, you can launch it through the lightning page, but the record needs to know which record. This is the main focus in order to kick off a new record trigger flow. So the very first thing that it asks, which object? So we said we will be listening to a record change in order to do a reaction. So which object you are looking for? I will say, let's have it as an account. So you need to specify an object. Second thing, it will ask you, we are saying this change can be record created, record updated, record created or updated, or a record is deleted. In our scenario, we will say, I will be listening only if the record got created. After that, do we need to do this reaction with every record will be created? If the answer is yes, accordingly, we don't need any conditions, because we are saying whenever an account got created, just start doing this reaction. But this is not ideal. Usually we don't do that. Usually we have a specific criteria. Otherwise, we will be running this flow over and over and over. if there is no business need. If there is business need, yes, we can keep it open. But in our scenario in here, we will say, I need to specify a condition. What are the different options we have for the condition? We can say all of these conditions will be and, all of them need to be satisfied. We can have or, saying one of them need to be satisfied. We can have a custom condition logic is met, which will allow me to say 1 and 2, and between brackets saying or 3. So I will be able to mix and match and then ors. And this 1 and 2, this will be based on the add condition. We can keep adding. So that means I'm saying those to be satisfied or this specific one. So I can do the custom condition logic is met. Finally, we have the option for formula evaluate to true, which will give me the same formula we are familiar with while we are creating a formula fields, while we are doing anything related to formulas. It's the same that I will be able to put a resource, a variable. I will be able to put all the functions, if it's a date and so on. The important part of any formula, it need to be evaluated at the very end to either true, means satisfying the condition and let's execute, or it can be a false. So that means I will be not satisfying this entry criteria. Accordingly, this flow will not be running. So far, so good. Any questions?
No, so far so good.
Lovely. So all conditions are met. We are saying we're going to do that whenever we have an account type equals a prospect. So that means I'm saying whenever a new account created of type prospect, do something. But we have a very important decision we need to make in here, which is optimize the flow for fast field updates and action and related records. So in here, I have a Salesforce database. I have an account I am trying to create. And then the assumption is I'll be putting all the information for that account before hitting the database for Salesforce. And then I will be creating this record. And whenever I create this record, what's going to happen? Salesforce usually generate a Salesforce ID and put all the audit fields plus whatever I populated in here. So what is the difference before the database and after the database? That means here, I don't have the Salesforce ID yet, because this is still, I am asking Salesforce, can you please create for me this account, which I just filled those informations. Accordingly, I have the opportunity to say, if the phone number, I can't see in here that I filled the phone number. If the phone number is empty, put it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means this is optimized.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm changing the record with a business rule before I go to Salesforce and commit it to the database. All right. But if I need to create, if this account created, I need to create a related task. In order to create a related task for that account, I cannot do it before I save it to the database. I have to save it to the database first. I need to get the Salesforce ID and then create a task related to that specific account. So having the account created will be a required, it will be a required operation before we start the following dependent operation, which is creating a task related to it. So this is a big difference between before and after. Before is before hitting the database. Before can change the details for the record you are trying to insert or update into Salesforce database. After happens after you commit this change to the database and Salesforce generate ID. Last piece, if you need to create a related record or you need to create an action, and when we are saying action means you are trying to send an email, create a chatter post, any action which we will get familiar with, it has to be after, not before.
Okay.
So far, so good?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so let's get back in here into the flow. Fast field update. You will find even in here before in a different font. So fast field update means it happens before. However, actions and related records happening after the records saved to the database. So this is the difference. So this is the before, this is the after. Update field on the record that triggered the flow. Exactly like what we said. If I am missing a phone number and I need to just add this phone number, that means I'm updating the same record that triggered that flow. I can update all the values and it will be very efficient. So the guiding principle is, if you can do this reaction on the before, it will be more efficient than making it after. But if you need to update related record, or if you need to create an action, you don't have a choice. You have to go to after. To keep this in mind, try think about it, doing it in before, and this is only happening if you are changing the same record, or do it after if you need to do those actions. This one, update any record and the platform actions like sending an email, this is more flexible to run after the record is saved. All right, if no questions, there is another guiding principle, which is go for the database only when you need to go to the database. What that means, if I have the same example of, let's create a contact, and when I create the contact, if the phone number is empty, update it from the account. Accordingly, based on everything we said, it's ideally, if the record is triggered on the contact, do it in here. That means I'm updating the same record. It doesn't make sense to do it after, because that means we're gonna save it to the database, and then I will update it and hit the database. So that means I visited the database multiple times for no reason. So again, this is just to emphasize on the point of, you have to change something in the same triggering record, doing it in the before, not the after. All right, so let's move on. We are in here saying we are triggering this when, let's recap, account change, and this is when the record got created, and the account type is prospect, and since I need to create a task related to this specific account, that means I have to do it after, not before. So I configured everything in here in the start. Now there's other guiding principles. So I got this record. If I didn't do anything, if I didn't do any data related, so if we went in here, you will find interactions that I can send an action and calling another subflow. You can have logic, that means changing the values, doing assignments, doing loops, doing transformations, and so on. If you did all of these great stuff without using a data element, that means Salesforce know nothing about you. We didn't hit the database. So in order to take whatever changes you are doing in the flow, you need to use a data element to communicate with the database. So far, so good?
Yeah.
Perfect. Right. So what we need to do, we are saying we need to create a task. In order to create a task, you need to create a record. So let's go back briefly in here to get all the descriptions, which will help us when we get back to the module. We need to create a follow-up task. So I'll take this guy, put it here in the label. As we learned before, Salesforce automatically gonna generate the API by replacing any space with underscore. It's best practice to put a description, because it will help you to understand the flow, and anyone after you will be able to understand why and what you are doing in here. So we are adding a description. And when you do that, you will be finding this. So it will be like you are doing a documentation for every element. And then how to set record field values. We agreed before that we have the option to put it in a variable and then hit the database with a variable. That means I need to create a record variable and I need to do assignments and so on. We will go through that in later in this module. But for now, we will need to do it manually. That means I will need myself to choose which object, do the mapping within this component. So I need to create a task. Accordingly, the object I'll be creating is the task. What do I need to set? I need to set that assign this task to the account owner ID. So if I created an account, that means I'll be the owner for that account. I need to assign for me a follow-up task to say have a discovery call with that account. Accordingly, the field I need to put it on the task is assigned to ID. And how can I set it? I will assign it from the triggering account, because we have a record trigger flow, and I need to have the owner ID, which is the user created that specific account. And then I will need to set the priority to normal and the status to not started. So priority, normal, status, not started. And finally, I need to relate it to the same account that triggered this specific flow. So I'll add a field in here. I will say related to ID, and I'll be saying the same triggering account dot ID, which will be the account ID with every field in here, because they are showing in here the label, not the API, and sometimes the label might be confusing and it's not unique. So however, the best practice to have it unique and so on. But if you are confused, you can always come in here and you will be able to see which exactly API. So what we are doing so far, we are saying with any new account that created of type prospects, after you save this account, get me that ID, and then go and create a related task to it, assign it to me, and relate it to the same account. So far, so good?
All good.
Oh, good. So let's save it. We will save it with create a follow-up on new prospect. So this is the flow label, this is the API name, and we're gonna save it. We agreed before that this will not be in action unless we activate it. So we have to activate this flow in order to be able to test it and use it live. You can test it for sure using a debug and run in here, but if you need to have it in a real scenario, you need to activate it. And once you activate it, you will be able to see in here in the different version that this is the active version. And if you even click the back, you will be able to see it in here that it's active. If you want to see the different version of that flow, you can come in here and saying view details and versions. And you will be able to see that this one is an active and this is the only version and so on. What are the different ways to see that the account object has a flow on it? There is another way. You will find the button on the top in here saying Flow Trigger Explorer. When you click in Flow Trigger Explorer, you will be able to choose whatever object you are looking for, and you will be able to see I have a record trigger flow on account. When it's created, I have this flow. Last part, in order to see what are the automations from flow in the account, you can go to the account object here in the object manager, and if you scroll down, you will find in here flow triggers. Again, you will be able to see that I have. So those are the different ways in order to know which flows running on the account object. So let's test it. I will come in here in the account objects, and I'll go in here saying new. Remember that the main entry criteria was the type has to be a prospect. So I will say test account, and I specified the entry criteria, which is the type. Once I hit save, here is the task got created. But you will notice that we didn't specify subject. So this might be a missed item from me. So I didn't map the subject value follow-up. And this is a great opportunity to save it as a new version and then do the required modifications, and finally save it one more time and activate it and so on. So let's learn that. So save it as a new version.
Can you not go back into the flow and
sorry, I understand. Can you repeat?
Can you not go into the flow and assert that misstep?
Yes. So we will be going back to the same flow.
Okay.
We will be going to the create. Now we are missing a subject to be mapped. So I'll add a field. I will say the subject. That's perfect. And then I will be putting the value, follow-up discovery call. Can I save it for the same version?
Not letting us.
You cannot. It's not an option. So you have to save it as a new version
Ah,
and say adding. So
object.
this flow to create a follow up task, and I will hit save.
Okay.
Accordingly, you will notice in here that we started to have two versions. This is the active one. So if I created another account, it will still create it without subject. So in order to make this in action, I have to activate version number
So
2. So if I came back in here, back to the flows and the same window that we were showing, you will be noticing now we have two version of it. This one became inactive and this one became active. So let's head back, create a new account. And I will say the type now is still prospect. And this is test account 2. And when I hit save, now it's better. So far, so good?
yeah.
Lovely. All right. So let's get back in here, work with Salesforce record. The objective for this module is to understand how Salesforce interact with Salesforce record. How can we create record? How can we update records? We agreed that true power of flow is that can do something automatically and automatically on behalf of the user, such as update data, send an email, submit a record for approval. It's a very powerful tool that allow you to do record-related actions plus actions and chatters and sending in emails, approvals, and all of these great stuff. You learn about variables, but it's important to note that making a change to the variable doesn't affect your Salesforce record. This is exactly what we said. If I got the record and I created the variable and I did the assignment and I did all of these great stuff without using a data element that will update a record or it will be create records and so on,
Yeah.
no one felt it. So these elements can get values from records, create records, update records, and so on. Create a single record from scratch. Flow can create a record of any type. What I mean by any type, that we learned it before. If I went to the setup, we have multiple types of objects. You have the standard objects. You can create your custom objects. Can Salesforce flows interact with both types, standard and custom? The answer is yes. We learned it as well that we have, just if you don't know this extension, this is called Salesforce Inspector Reloaded. It's an amazing extension, Chrome extension, which allow you to search objects, see data, search users, see limits, import data. So it's very powerful. So it's a very handy tool. You will find objects as well called share objects. What share objects mean? Those are back-end objects for Salesforce, which allow them to say this person or this role or this have access to this specific account object. So those are when we have a restriction around the record sharing. Salesforce has those backends. Can the flow deal with the share objects? The answer is yes. We just mentioned that there is in the platform to enable not real-time integration, publish and subscribe, which we are putting a channel or a queue, and the people are pushing data, and then we have consumers listening to it, something called a platform event. So platform event in here, you will find it if you need to create it. So it's gonna create a platform event. So I have in here something called my platform event. Can flows create a platform event? The answer is yes. So flow are very flexible and it can do a lot of things, including even the objects that are not standard, not custom, share objects, platform events, and a lot of great stuff. So keep this in mind. When creating a record, you can create one record or many records at once, depending on how you configure the create record elements. What that means, we were in here in the create, and if I change this manually, it will ask you how many records to create, one or multiple. So multiple means it requires a collection. So collection means we agree that I can create in here, if I am creating a variable, and I am saying this is var underscore account. And I have a data type of record. You will find this great checkbox saying, is it one record or it's multiple records that you will be landing in here. So if it's a multiple, that means it's a collection. This is back to the point when I deal with the database. Do I need to deal with it like a record by record, or I want to go with a lot of records in one shot? So we just agreed that the best practice is go with everything you want to do in one shot to the database. Think about it exactly like you are in supermarket. And if I asked you with every item, go to the cashier, do the payment, and then come back, get the second item, go to the cashier, this will be a lot of burning calories. But we usually do get all the things you want and then go to the cashier once and do the payment. Exactly like here. If you can do it in a collection in one shot to the database, do it. Same thing. If you have a get record in here, so if I closed this guy and I said, let me get record, and I said, get me the account, you have the option in here saying only first record. That means you will get a single record, or you can say all records. That means it's gonna be a collection. So this is the difference between a single variable versus a collection variable. Accordingly, if I did in here saying multiple, that means I'm expecting in here to receive a collection. It will not show me a variable that is not type of collection. Same thing if I put one and I'm trying to pass a collection, it will not accept it because the one expecting a record, not a collection. Any questions? Perfect. So we will talk about when you learn about collection variables. For now, let's focus on creating a single record.
Okay.
So the business analyst in here, you are a Salesforce admin and building automation. And what we need to achieve is when we create a records, we need to create a follow-up task, which we did. This badge use record trigger flow. And if you need to learn more, we will have a future module talking about record trigger flow in depth. This is exactly the same example we did. If you have an account and you created an account of type prospect, we need to create a follow-up task, and we just did it. And they are emphasizing in the point is it's a best practice to enter a description whenever it's possible in order to make the description documentation for your automation and so on. So the documentation is accessible to any admin who open the flow, and there is no guesswork. They will be able to easily understand and troubleshoot what you are doing. So far, so good before we jump to the update?
Yeah, go on.
Perfect. So let's go for the next scenario in here to test the concept of before flow. So I'll go in here saying I need to create a new flow, and I'll be starting from scratch. I will be saying record trigger flow. And within the record trigger flow, I have a scenario saying if I created a contact and the phone number is empty, go for the related account, grab the phone number, put it on the contact. So that means I am waiting for contact to be created. Accordingly, the object to be created, the object will be contact, a record is created, and then the enter condition in here, any contact that has no phone number. I don't want to do that for every contact. If they have a phone number, I don't want to overwrite it with the account phone number. So I will say in here that the phone is the business phone, I'm assuming. So let's get back in here. So the business phone, they are looking for the business phone, is null equals true. So if the contact got created and its phone number is null, accordingly, I need to change the same contact. Is it wise to use after or before? So the best practice in here, if I'm updating the triggering record, do it always in the before. So I will do fast field update, and this is exactly what Trailhead as well recommend. So I will update the same record. So I will be update records. I can do update triggering record. So when I clicked in here, it says update triggering record, which ideal, but in here in the module saying update the record. So we will do it manual. So set contact phone. We need to just update the phone number by setting contact phone. The description as well, I will put it set contact phone. Use the contact record that triggered that flow. I need to update this specific one. All right. So what else I need in here? They are putting the conditions as none. because I am already filtering on the entry criteria that phone numbers equals null. So I need to here to say, set me the business phone, which is empty, put it with the triggering. So I need the record, which is the same contact I'm creating, but I need what? I need the parent account ID, and I need to go to the parent account ID and grab the phone number. And this is exactly what we are doing. Copy account phone to a new contact. So what we are doing, if the contact, I am creating a new contact and the business phone is null, go before you save it to the database, go grab the account phone number and put it in the business phone. So this is the business phone. Yeah, I will save it, flow label. Here we go. This is the flow. Save it, activate it, and let's test it. So I'll go for the account and I will find an account has a phone number 785. I'll be creating a new related contact. I will say my test contact, and I will keep the phone number is empty. So once I hit save, so here my test contact, it grabbed the phone number from the account and just stamped it to the contact. Any questions?
No questions.
Thank you. Delete records. Delete records, you need to be very, very careful because whatever you're gonna delete, it's gone. It's not really gone. I want to be very honest with you. It's gone for 15 days and then it will be really gone. So it's logically delete and then it will be physically deleted. But the best practice, once you delete it, no one will be able to access that record and there's some consequences. So be careful and test your work in lower environments before you have such automation which will delete records. So of course, not every Salesforce record live live forever. Sometimes the records just need to be swapped out and so on. So when you want to use a float delete record, use the delete record. Deleting Salesforce should never be done lightly. You need to be very careful. You need to test your automation in lower environment. You don't want to flow to start automatically deleting wrong records. Keep in mind, records usually come into existence for a reason. So make sure that you have all the reasons and evidence and justifications to delete those records. I mentioned that every record in Salesforce. So if I came back in here into the account I just created and I decided to go and delete it, I am saying it is going to be not a physically delete. What I mean by that for every record in Salesforce, if I show all data in here, you will find a field with every record in Salesforce called is deleted. So Salesforce actually didn't delete that record. Salesforce, all what they did, they flagged this specific account to be is deleted true. Why? Because they have an amazing feature called the recycle bin. So if you went to the app launcher, recycle bin in here, you will find the account I just deleted. And now you have the option to say delete it forever. Accordingly, there's going to be a physical delete, or you have the option to say, oops, I deleted by mistake, so I can restore it. Accordingly, Salesforce, to make it safe, they do not do a physical delete straight. They do a logical delete, and you have the option to restore it. All right, I believe let's just see very quickly what this delete element is gonna do. Record trigger flow. I can say get account, get record, and based on the get record, I will say get accounts in here. And what will be the object? I can say I need the account, and I need to say the name contains test, all the test accounts. So I got those ones. Remember, in here we had the option to say only the first field or all the records. That means that this is gonna bring for me a collection, and then When I do that, I need to test this delete records thing. So the delete records will ask me to get me a record or a collection, but it must have an ID because the delete will have an ID. So get records by default will bring for me the ID and all what we are expecting in here to pass which accounts to be deleted. So I can just pass in here the same collection. This is can be like an auto launch flow with a button. When I click it, it will go get all the accounts that has test in it and then delete it. But don't do that. It's not ideal. You cannot take the delete lightly. So this will be how you configure the delete elements. Any questions?
No questions.
Lovely. Right. So let's jump to the hands-on challenge in here so we can learn and earn those points. Convert an account to a customer. So in here, in our organization needs a simple tool to turn the prospect account into a customer and remind someone to establish contact, create a flow that update the account record and create a related task record. So we're going to be building an auto launch flow. So let's jump to it. New flow and start from scratch. And I will be doing an auto launch flow. Auto launch flow, as we mentioned, it's based on clicking a button. Another one is calling it. Accordingly, there is no entry criteria like what we have in the record trigger flow. They want us to create a variable, name it account ID. So I'll come in here, saying a new resource. I need to have a variable. I will name it account ID, and the data type was text. And then available for input. That means available for input means it's not local to that flow. We are expecting to pass it from the Lightning page. So if we have this auto launch flow with a button on an account screen, I'll be passing this account ID as a parameter so I can do the reaction on it. So I'm doing an input variable of type text. So this is the first part. Create a resource. So I need to create a formula. We agreed before that we can create in here a new resource of type formula, so it will be re-evaluated in the real time. The formula name will be week from today. This is the API name, and since it's a week from today, that means it's a date. And the formula will be today plus 7. You can do it from here by saying it's a date time, and I will say I just need today date, so it will return for me, and or you can just even within the old function. So I need today plus 7, so I'll do today plus 7. Check the syntax is correct. Yes, it's valid. So I have now a dynamic formula which will say based on when I gonna launch this flow, it's gonna calculate a week from now. Add an update record element. So I need to update a record element. So update record, and I will say this is the label, this is the customer, and then how to find the records to update and set their value, specify condition to update. All right. So we need to have it to the specify. So either you have an ID and you have a variable, or specify condition, which is like manually. So we need to do it for the account object. And I will need to say filter account records that the ID equal account. So I am going and setting the same account that I am passing in here. I am passing it as a parameter, and I am saying updating this specific account. So I will say update the account equals the same account ID. I have it as a parameter. And then what I need to do, I will need to set it to customer direct. So I will be setting this type to a customer direct. So what we did so far, we accepted the variable, we started this flow, we are updating the record, which is the same account, set the type into a customer direct. After we do that, after the set type to customer element, add create record element, we need to create a related task. So that means we are updating this prospect account into a customer, and then we are creating a follow-up task. So this is the create onboarding task. Actually, I need to do that, not the API straight. Okay. And then the description, I don't have a description. How to set it? I will not be setting it using a variable. Accordingly, I will be switching it to manual. I will be creating a task, and I need to set the due date to a week from today. Due date. So due date. I will be setting using the formula. So that means I will have a follow-up task with this specific account in a week from now. I will need to set the priority status subject. So let's put all the fields and then we'll know the values. Status subject. And finally, the related to ID, which is the record will be related to. All right, so I will be setting this to high, not started. So let's do that. High, not started, and the subject is the subject provided. And finally, in here, I will relate it to the same account variable. Save the flow, convert to customer. So we accepted a parameter for the account ID. We set it to customer direct. We created a follow-up task. And we are saving this great flow and activated. And let's make sure that we did the right thing. Any questions?
No, we're good.
Sounds perfect. So hopefully we're going to earn those great 500 points. Let's see.
Not that you need it.
Lovely. We
Well done.
made it. All right. We will cover the next unit and then we will wrap it up for today. We might be spending extra couple minutes to make sure we finish this as well unit, and we will continue our journey next week.
All right.
All right. So variables generated by elements. We just learned about variables and the different types. We created text. We talked about records. We created formulas. Now we are talking about with every element we create in Salesforce, Salesforce automatically create for us certain variables, because it's going to be very painful for us if we need to have if we have a get record in here and I am saying get accounts, and then I need to have the account object in here, and I'm saying get me all the records, and then I need to go and create a record. You will notice that with everything I do in here, Salesforce automatically gonna create a variable for us. Accordingly, when we came in here and we said that we might be putting a record variable, maybe those that get I need to update and so on. So every element we will be using in Salesforce will, behind the scene, Salesforce will create a variable to make our life easier. Awesome. So variables are incredibly useful, but if you have to create a variable for each separate data, this is going to be very painful. Thankfully, Salesforce Flow is already doing that for us on every element, create their own variable, so don't have to create your own variables. What will be the labels? It will be the record type from the API name. So if I am doing like get contacts, that means the record type will be contact from your API name get contact records. So for example, if you have in here contact from get latest contact, so you got get latest contact as your element in here name in here, and then it will be, so for this specific one, for example, that will be account from create onboard task, something like that. So this will be the naming convention. Get records. So to do almost anything in the flow builder, you need data. Flow can access your Salesforce record by doing get data, and you can create and update and so on. But you have to tell the flow what data to get. The flow temporarily, as we mentioned, the get and all of these variables are temporary. Nothing is stored until you use a data element. Then do all the manipulation and then bulk push them in a collection to the database as we agreed. When retrieving record values, you can get all the field value. All right, so let's see this. Let's say I am doing in here get account, and then I will say get me all the prospects. So I will say in here type equal prospects. You have option in here to say only first record or records and so on. We discussed about this. This will be a single record variable. This is going to be a collection. How to store record data? So in the account object, you will find that we have a lot of fields. So when I say get, which fields this gonna bring for me? This is the choice you need to make in here. So I was in here. You can say automatically store all the fields, which would be more convenient, and this is the default because you have all the fields. Or you can say choose. I need to choose, so I just need the name. Accordingly, if you try to use the phone number from the account, you will not be able to because you didn't retrieve it. Or you can go for advanced. Salesforce recommends here in the module that stick to the default, automatically store everything, unless you know that you have a 200 fields that will be retrieved for this specific object and it's highly customized. Don't do that because it might impact the performance. So they are saying if it's a manageable number of fields, use that automatically. If not, choose only the fields you do. Me personally, I used to use just to choose the fields, but after I listened that Salesforce is saying just to go with the default, if it's not overly customized, I might be changing my behavior in the future. So when retrieving a record, you can get all fields from values from a single record, from a whole collection of records. The flow stores the retrieved value in a single variable. All right, so in here, we have a problem statement in here. What we are trying to achieve, we are saying critical context on an opportunity and related opportunity contact role. What that means, we need to track, we need to have a follow-up task for the highly valued opportunities that we lost. So we are saying in here, we are tracking critical context on an opportunity and related opportunity contact role object. The sales department want opportunity owners to reach out to a contact of decision maker role when an opportunity is lost. So if I have an opportunity and it's a valuable opportunity having a value of 100 grains and more, I need to go to another object called opportunity contact role, grab the decision maker, and if I have multiple decision makers, I need to get the most recent decision maker and then follow up. This is what we are trying to achieve. The decision maker is stored not in the opportunity, but it's in a different object called the opportunity contact role. You need to flow to retrieve the decision maker in order for the opportunity contact role before creating that task. So the steps will be the flow run when an opportunity is lost, if the amount over than 100 grand, and then the stage name is closed lost, you do this with a record trigger flow. Second, the flow retrieve opportunity contact role when the role is decision maker. You do this with a get record, and you need, in order to get the most recent decision maker, that means you need to sort with a created date, sending, and you will say, get me only the first record. Accordingly, you'll be able to retrieve this. Finally, you want to store only most recent decision maker by doing the sort, and finally create the task. So let's put it in action. Leave this guy. Let's create a new flow, and let's start from scratch. Record trigger flow, and this is gonna be on the opportunity object because the opportunity will be the trigger. The opportunity got lost. So usually we create the opportunity, go through the sales cycle, and then at the end either close the one or lost. Accordingly, this will be a record is updated. What are the conditions? I have a condition on the amount, and I have a condition on the stage. This is closed lost, and the amount is 100 grains. So this is what we have, and this has to be greater than or equal. Perfect, so we did those. When to run the flow? Since we need to create a follow-up task, accordingly, this has to be after. So only when a record is updated to meet the condition requirement. This is another one. So when to run the flow to update the records? So do we need, if there is any other update, but we are still satisfying those conditions to run it, that means if I have a change on the due date for that opportunity, but the amount is greater than 100 grand and the stage is equal lost, do we need to create a task? The answer, no. I just needed to do it once the opportunity got updated. So rather than using every time a record is updated and meet the condition, do it only when a record is updated to meet a condition. That means I will be running once both conditions got satisfied, that it became closed, lost for an opportunity having an amount is greater than 100 grand. All right, on the flow canvas, when to run action and the related record, and we mentioned it has to be after because I need to create a task. Now I need to get the records, which is coming from the object, which is opportunity contact role, because I need to grab the decision maker. So I need to get the decision maker. Get the decision maker. This is the API name, and this is the description, and what will be the conditions. The conditions is I need to get the decision maker for the opportunity in question, which is in lost and which triggered this one. So I need to set that the opportunity ID equals the records ID for the same exact opportunity. And I need to get the role of decision maker. So those are the conditions. Do I need to get all the decision makers? The answer was no. I need to sort the descending using the created date. I need the most recent one. Do I need to get them all? No, I just need the first one to get me only the first record. That means the most recent created decision maker related to that opportunity. This is exactly what this get record decision maker is doing. Any questions?
No question for now.
Perfect. So we got the record, we specified everything, we did the sorting by, and we are getting only the first record, and I'm getting all the fields. How to automatically store all the fields. This is the point we just discussed about. The contact role is the opportunity contact role is a very light, small object. So we got all of them. So create the next one. So this is we got everything. We want to just to make sure that we are progressing. So we are saving this flow and name it create a follow-up task for the decision maker. Now, combine how many records to store and the sort setting. We already done that. You wanted to find the decision maker, so you opted to store only the first record, and you sorted using the created. Now, we need to use it to create this task. So what we're going to do, let's the flow retrieve the data, the decision maker, but still need to create this task. So let's go and create this task. Create records, and the name of it will be a create task. We will be creating a task in here, and then I will be saying manually, I need to create a task. That means I need to map bunch of fields. I need to set the assign to, I will be assigning to the opportunity owner ID, the same thing. So assigned to ID, I'll be saying for the triggering opportunity owner ID. Then I need to set the priority status subject related to priority status subject and related to ID, and I need to know which one to follow up with. I need to follow up with this great decision maker. So I have the name ID. What is the priority? Normal, not started, and the subject gonna be close, lost follow-up. And this is the related to ID. It's gonna be for the record, and it's the ID. This is the opportunity ID. And finally, I want to get it to the decision maker contact. So this is, we are getting it from the opportunity contract role from get decision maker, and I need to get the contact ID. Save it, activate it, and let's test it. So I'll go in here, open an opportunity. This is the opportunities. I will be showing all the opportunities. I'll be opening any opportunity which is in the decision making stage, and I will edit this opportunity. I'll change the amount because we have two entry criteria in here. I have the amount to be 100 grand, so I'll be changing this to be a lot of zeros. And I will be saving, and I can move it to closed lost. But before I do that, I need to get the decision maker. Do I have any decision makers in here? The answer is no. So let's create a contact role, add a contact role, adding Edna in here, set it as a decision maker. Accordingly, I'll be creating the task associated to this specific one. So now I'm satisfying all the conditions, and let's set the status to be closed lost, and let's see whether this task will be created or not. So closed lost, and it got assigned to the owner, and this is to follow up with Edna, which is the decision maker for this one. Any questions?
No, all good.
Lovely. So let's wrap it up with the final hands-on exercise and wrap it for the day. So mark a new lead if there is already an account with that name. So the scenario in here, I have a lead matching with an existing account. So leads for existing customers sometimes get into Salesforce. The Salesforce director wanted them market so they can check. Create a flow that check new leads to see there is already an existing account whose name match the lead. If there is a match, add the account to the lead possible matching account field. So we have, we will be creating a custom field, and we will be putting those matching in case they are matching on the name. So create a custom field on the lead. So I'll go back in here. Let's close all of these gray tabs. So I will go to the setup to create a custom field, object manager, and in here I will go for the lead object, and within the lead object, I'll be going to the field and relationship, create a new object. This is gonna be an account lookup because we will be storing the related account. So I'll go for the lookup relationship, saying next, it's gonna be related to the account, hit next, and in here, there's gonna be an account. If there are any specs, in here, so related to account, the API, the label need to be this value, possible matching account. Leave default values for other fields, field level security, and the lead page layout. Do not add it to the account page layout. So let's be careful. So I'll go in there, saying next. Leave it for the default. This is what they said. Next. Add it to the lead page layout. Next, do not add it to the account. So I'll not add it to any account, and I will hit save. So we created the custom field. Now create a record trigger flow on the lead. So I'll go back to home, saying the flows, and within the flows, I'll be creating a new flow on the lead. A record is created. So select from scratch, record trigger flow, and the object will be lead, and the record is created. Optimize for action and related records. That means it is going to happen after we store it because there is a related record involved. And the moment we are saying there's a related record, that means we have to make it after. Get record, get me the account that had the same exact name for that lead. So I'll be doing a get records, and this will be the name for it. Look up for matching. I will be searching for the account. And what will be the conditions? The name equals record company name. So this is the name of the account. When it equals the record, which is the lead company name, record company, sort order descending, created date. So I am getting the most recent company account that match this specific lead name, keep the default, and so on. So what we're gonna do, this is the action that I have a lead, I search it for the account, and now I need to update triggering record. I need to update records in here, update records. However, to be honest, I am updating the triggering lead, so there is no need. I'm getting, yes, related records and so on, but I can do that update before. It doesn't require to be after. After only if I'm updating the related record, but I'm updating the same record. But this is what we asked to do. So we will follow in order to pass this challenge. So I will be updating. Actually, no, I'm updating matching account. So did I create this lookup in the account? I'm wrong. My apologies. I thought that we are updating the same lead, but we are updating the account. So let me go back to the account, and let's make sure that we created this specific possible matching. So create a custom field. Let me just read it one more time. No, I'm right. I wasn't wrong. So this is saying create a custom field on the lead object, and we will need to relate it to the account, possible matching account. So this is at the lead object. All right, so let's see in here. After the look for matching account element, add an update record element. Update matching account. What we're gonna do, how to find the record, use the lead record. So I'm updating the lead record. All right, so we are still on track. So update matching account. So this can be happening in before because it's the same lead that triggered that flow. So use the lead record that triggered the flow, and all what I need to do, I will be updating the field I just created. So in here, none always update the records. So I'll be looking for the possible matching account, and all what I need to do, I need the account that I got from the lookup. So account from look from matching account, and I need to update the account ID. All right. So what we are doing, just to recap, we are creating a lead. We created a custom field within the object to store the matching account. We are looking for the matching account, and then I'm updating the same record that triggered that flow. So save, activate, and let's check the challenge. Any questions? Lovely, lovely. So let's see if we got those 500 points as well or not. We made it. Perfect. Thank you very much for your time. If there is no questions, let's wrap it up for today and wish to see you next week.